Hey there, it's Jonathan at the piano lesson. Surprise! That was a little song, a little Caribbean song that I learned as a little boy called Marianne, and you'll probably hear it on the YouTube. A fun little song. And, summertime comes, it's June, and break out your Caribbean music, boys. Break out the music from the West Indies, because that stuff rocks. And simple little tune, right? Just two chords, basically. Just C and G. That's really all it is. Now, there is a little bridge, as I recall. I looked up the music the other day, and I looked up the recording, and I don't recall hearing the bridge, but the bridge is pretty simple. And now, okay, I did make it a little fancier. Yes, I did. But, you can make it as fancy or not. Depending on what your mood is, right? But a whole lot of Caribbean music, just two chords or three chords. The bridge it's just goes to the subdominant, it goes to the F, okay? But I did it in C. And if you notice the melody outlines the chord, okay? So let's just take a look. Let's take a look at that real quick. I'm not going to write out the whole song, but you can use your ear, and I'll show you, the melody, right? E, G, C, E, right? That's it. Oh, I'm singing the wrong notes. E, G, C, E, and then E, D, F, E, D, F. I'm not writing out all the notes because I just want to make a point. B, D, F, B, D. So there's a B in there, right? But the bass is the bass is the G. Okay, so there's your E, there's your G, there's your C. Okay, all of that, right? That's one big fat triad. That's just a C triad, right? And then, of course, that little guy is part of that, okay? And then over here, that melody, that outlines the G7. Notice something interesting. When it goes back to the C chord, the melody is D. It's actually not part of the chord. Right? That's called an appoggiatura in music. It's basically a a wrong note. It's a wrong note on the right beat, but it's a all day, all night, Marianne, down by the seaside, sifting sand. Even little children wanna join a band. I'm making this up from what I remember. All day, all night. Now listen, Marianne, that second in there, that's what kind of makes it sound like Caribbean music. You could do Marianne, Marianne, but it just doesn't work. It's just not the same if you play the G. Marianne, you could do that, but that's not that nice. Almost like you get in country western music, get that second. But if you do too much of that stuff, then it starts to sound like country and doesn't sound like Caribbean music anymore. Now, the rhythm I'm using, well, I'm not the most authentic guy in the world. I mean, I'm sure people might have something to say about this, but I'm just going back and forth between 1 and 5 in the bass. And in the right hand, I'm just doing, honestly, kind of like a faux Caribbean, whatever I hear, but and sometimes I change notes. I'm playing fourths in the hand. All day, all night. Nice to double the melody. Marianne, down by the seaside, sifting sand. Now, playing the melody in 6, even little, that's a 5th there, even little, I could play a 6th there, and it's a major 7 chord, that works okay. Even little children wanna join a band. Now that sounds nice. That 6th there's an A, and that A is the 2nd, or the 9th, depending on how you think of it, maybe the 9th in this case. It adds a little color. All day, there's the 7th, all day, there's the 5th, all night, Marianne. These are parallel 6ths. Real nice sound. And if you kind of wobble back and forth, that's called tremolo, you get that nice, it almost sounds like a marimba, right? There's here I'm going root 7th rather than root 5th, and root 3rd. I could slide. Now sometimes I do this. I'm holding this note down and I'm adding some notes here. Why am I doing that? I don't know. I just want to, but this is one of the things about playing the piano where you create contrast. You have long notes, let's say they're loud, and then you have short notes that are softer in between. So it starts to sound like a band. It starts to sound like, there's the bass player, and this is the whatever you want to think of it is, I don't know, bass clarinet. How about that? And some of the notes I'm playing here, I'm almost not even sounding. They're what people call ghost notes, where you really feel them more than even hear them. These are the notes that you really hear. This is the note that you kind of feel, and that's the 5th of the chord. Now, if you take a 6th and you invert it, and make it into a 3rd, 3rds and 6ths are related. That sounds real Caribbean. Notice I'm just playing parallel 3rds. That's a nice way to just, real easy way to create color. Again, this is what people call counterpoint. So counter meaning opposite, counterpoint, 2 melodies. You have this melody, the top melody, and the bottom melody. Right? And together it's, right? Okay? And that's, right? And if you, again, going back and forth, now how do you do that? It takes a little practice, but it's a combination of your finger and a little bit of forearm. And what you do is, on a piano, you have the weight of the key coming back into your finger. So I'm not playing all the way down into the key because I'd get stuck. And I'm not playing totally superficially, right? Because then you'd have no sound. But if I kind of find that sweet spot right in the middle where I can control the key coming back at me, it's a very precise spot, but once you find it, it's real obvious. And you just have to kind of experiment. Your fingers are a little bit firm, almost like you're holding a pen, kind of like I used to have a teacher try to have me hold a pencil and pull it out, but maybe not quite that strong, but just enough to kind of hold a pencil. It doesn't have to be too much. You can use 1 and 3, or 1 and 4, or 1 and 5. You could also, if you have a long note, you can alternate fingers. Look what I'm doing. 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of seamlessly. You can't really, well, you shouldn't be able to hear that I'm transitioning fingers. Or you could go 2 and 4. That's an advantage to that. You're kind of balancing your fingers. Or you could go 3 and 5. This is sort of nice. I kind of like 2 and 4, frankly. Just basic triads, right? There's the 6th. There's the 2nd. That's a nice sound. That's the pentatonic scale, right? That's this, translated to down here. Now, as far as soloing, well, what would you do? Well, what is that? Well, that's the notes of the chord played in different octaves. And you could use the same fingers if you want and just move your arm. What people typically do, though, is very often we cross the thumb under if you want to connect the note, all right? And if you want to connect the note like that, that's what's really kind of what this shape is, what you want to achieve. You could try to kind of practice that, holding your middle finger down and kind of connecting that. So, in other words, if my arm is like this and my elbow's in, my thumb's really not going to reach all that way. So I have to kind of calibrate my arm. I have to kind of figure out, well, if I have my arm out here, it makes the thumb easier to reach. Now, if I have my arm too far out, well, then I can't reach that C. So it's a bit of a compromise, right? And you sort of figure out, well, where would be the optimal point at which to put your arm. And notice this is called the bridge. And you have this little triangular shape that I'm creating. This is a nice strong bridge. If you do this, you don't want it to collapse typically. But you want to have a bridge so you can have sound, and you can have your fingers kind of fanned out. You can play the C kind of with the tip of your thumb right in that little corner there. If your fingers might not be able to reach, and you can play the pinky kind of splayed out like that. But I'm not playing the pinky necessarily. If I can play the pinky and the thumb at the same time, that's another way to sort of calibrate my hand. Calibrate meaning to determine the precise position at which would be optimal to place my hand, right? So kind of like, doing that and kind of doing that and then doing this. So I can, if I want to connect, and coming back over, connecting that note, or I could disconnect them. Frankly, disconnecting the notes sound a little better in this style of music. It's almost like a marimba. Those are all disconnected notes. There's different touches on the piano. There's the connecting the notes, and we typically call that legato, and we overlap the note a bit, right? And then there's staccato, where the way I do my staccatos very often, I lift up from the key as opposed to poking at the key. I don't like to poke at the key because you get stuck in the key, and you get stuck in the key, and you end up with a sound that's overly percussive, and you also just traumatize your hand, But or playing chord staccato, coming up from the keyboard, coming up kind of. or brushing against, but there's this sort of sound, you know, maybe. That's more of what might call a leggero, maybe. That's kind of partly connected. So it should almost like sounding. Notice the glissando with my thumb kind of sounds similar to individual fingers. Now, how do I do that? Well, it's taken a lot of years to figure that out, but you have to let your ear kind of guide you, or you could just do that. But there's that sound, there's that sound, there's that sound, there's this sound. Those are two-note slurs. Down, up, like a bouncing ball, or 3-1. Those are two-note slurs, or you know. So. Kinds of fun sounds you can use. Now the bridge, Marianne, and then it goes to F. That's why I love her so. That's C, why I love her so. That's G, love her so. Then C, love her so. C7, why I love her so. Why I love her so. Then why I love her so. That's kind of how I remember it. Someone will correct me, I don't know, but that's the bridge that I remember. Anyway, so that's Marianne, all day, all night, Marianne, double octaves, right? But and remember, we did there were a few other songs. There's Yellow Bird, a high and banana tree, Yellow Bird, da, 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 da. F, C, G, C, F, C, G. So that's Yellow Bird. And let's see, what was the other song? Oh, it was Matilda, 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 she take their money and run Venezuela. C, F, G, C, G, C. That's the whole tune there. So look at all those tunes you can do just by knowing those few chords. I mean, that's pretty fun. So, you know, C, G7, F, right? The F, 1, 4 are wonderful old primary chords, good old primary chords. Can anyone even read that? Is that even a word? Is that even a word? Primary chords. Right? That's why they're so important to do songs with. And in this situation, again, the only dominant chord we play is the G7, is the 5-7. That's the word dominant, right? Dominant. This is tonic. And this is sub, S-U-B, sub dominant, subdominant. And again, uppercase Roman numbers to show you where the chords are. And this is 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. That's a great, you want to be able to do it in every key. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. That was one of the things I had to do as a kid all the time. That's G. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. That's D, A, E, B, F sharp. Going up to C sharp or D flat, going up to A flat, going up to E flat, going up to B flat, and then F, and back to C. So C, F, C, G, C, G, C, G, D, G. D, G, D, A, D, A, D, A, E, A, E, A, E, B, E, B, E, B, F sharp, B, F sharp, B, F sharp, C sharp, F sharp. Usually you play in the key of F sharp. I typically don't see songs written in G flat. F sharp is usually what I see. And string instruments are usually, sharp keys. C sharp is not a bad key, but usually I see D flat more often in jazz. D flat, G flat, D flat, A flat, D flat. Remember, these are enharmonic keys, so it could also go C sharp, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, C sharp. That's perfectly acceptable. Likewise, going back down to F sharp, saying G flat, C flat, not B. G flat, D flat, G flat, okay? Going back up to our C sharp or D flat, and then A flat, D flat, A flat, G, E flat, A flat. There is no key of G sharp major, please, folks, okay? And likewise, E flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, E flat. There's no key of D sharp major, and B flat, E flat, B flat, F, B flat. There's no key of A sharp major, and then F, B flat, F, C, F. So playing the song as an exercise. All day, all night, Marianne. 5, D7. Down by the seaside, sifting sand. That's G major. Going to D. All day, all night, Marianne. A7, down by the seaside, sifting sand. And it's fun when you play a tune like this to modulate to different keys. Now, I'm going by fifths. I think in the real world, I wouldn't modulate by fifths. I would probably go by steps. If I'm playing in the key of C, I might go up to C sharp. All day, all night, Marianne. Down by the seaside, sifting sand. This is a great way to learn keys with your ear, right? Just using your ear. And it doesn't have to be drudgery, right? You can have fun playing in different keys. And each key feels different. Each key sounds different. And they're all useful. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of these other keys. It's kind of silly. C is really a harder key to play in many ways because it's all flat in a sense. There's nothing to feel in your hands. And if you look at all the music like Stevie Wonder wrote, it's not in C major. I can tell you that right now. So, okay, we're coming to an end, and I'm going to get going. This is Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I will try to return all my messages. I've been remiss in that, so I apologize. But and I'm also thinking of doing perhaps a little class, a little mini class dedicated towards my very dedicated Italian students. So we'll see what we come up with. Take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.